that actually these three are connected to Vat, Pitta, Kapha, Kapha, Vata, Kapha, Pitta and Vata respectively, and so on. So that is how they are defining Vat, Pitta, Kapha from the wearable. So if you are wearing a Fitbit or iWatch, continuously you are getting HRV signal. So on HRV, if you get low frequency, frequency, and high frequency data, you can find out your Vat, Pitta, Kapha. Again, point care, where the standard deviations again are. We worked on the embeddings, different types of embeddings, where we are particularly talking about the pseudo-periodic structure. Then Lyapunov exponents, which is actually giving a lot of information about the stretching and squeezing. I'm going very fast right now. Don't want to go into deeper of that, but recurrence plot where you get different actual information from them. The DFA analysis, we actually were able to show that it's a very, very chaotic and self-similar nature, which is continuously happening. So actually we collected 300 minutes of data. And from that 300 minutes of Nadi data, whether we analyze this much data, that much data, or the full data, you can see that at a particular location, the data looks linear. So the DFA analysis actually tells more about how to define whether a signal is chaotic or not. And we found that our pulse is very much chaotic. So how to work on that, Holder exponents, and so on. Just wanted to go fast that different types of feature extraction that we have done beyond actual pattern recognition sitting with the doctors. So the main work which we do is we have a team of doctors. We collect data. The doctors also define on those patients what that particular patient is about. We note down those information. We compute our own parameters, and we try to correlate our parameters with doctors' parameters, and so on. So just to recap, this is how this information and this information we are doing. And there are thousands of rules. Again, finding out.
Yes, you showed this before.
Yes.
So we understand that, okay,
there will be some correlation.
The shape. I don't understand what is 3D.
Yeah, so we are yet to work, but basically when you see the actual pulse, it's more actual 3D pulse which you get here. So from so there is I forgot the name very at the moment, but there is a method in wavelet transform in which from singular time series analysis you can actually create a 3D image from the same time series. So we actually create that and show it to our doctors. So that's why so that the width and volume information is also shown to the doctors. We are still working on it. Sorry? Tridosha. Yeah, Tridosha. So Vata, Pitta, Kapha individually are named as dosha. So there are three, so Tridosha. It's a Tridosha theory. So I don't know how many of you remember the Tata Tea advertisement, but now they talk about our tea takes care of your Vata, Pitta and Kapha. It's actually out. Ramdev Baba has made this transition of language from this to more Ayurveda based. This is the actual life mission. So right now we are talking about Vata, Pitta, Kapha and a few parameters that we have captured, but there are total so many parameters which Ayurveda explains about one particular person. Okay. And a good Ayurvedic doctor actually can actually feel so much information about the person. So there are more than 550,000 BMS doctors in India, and not more than 500 doctors can actually do the very rigorous Nadi Pariksha. Very few doctors can actually tell about past, present, future, and so on. Right. So we want to make sure that with our large research analysis and so on, we try to capture as many parameters as possible so that we understand the person. The current offering which we offer is basically we give the report cards so that the doctor can talk to patients, and actually we can talk about the diet advice, yoga advice, music advice, sleep advice, water advice, and so on. So that is how actually we do this. The current data collection is happening at Ayurveda centers, as well as spas, as well as yoga centers. So yes, as a startup, as a commercial company, we are selling devices to these, but all data from all over India. Last week we launched internationally in Dubai. All data is coming on our one centralized server, so that the data comes to server, and there we do all kind of statistical significance to actually prove a few things, which I'm going to actually showcase. So coming back to journey, how it all started, sir mentioned about my dad. So Dr. J.B. Joshi, so she was not well long ago when I was doing my engineering, and he took treatment from Vaidyaraj Ashok Bhatt. He was, one of those 500 who actually understands the nadi. So this idea is actually of these both, that somehow, so he thought that there is some fluid dynamics is happening because he's a chemical engineer. So he asked me to work on this, find out the fluid dynamics, and if we can convert that into a technology format, it can actually reach out to millions of people, and we can solve the problems of people the way he solved his problem, and so on. So that is how the work started. Worked on multiple sensors. As I told you, there was a Eureka movement in 2009 at around PhD. In 2012, 13, 14, we received a CSIR grant under which we installed the product in 20 different Ayurveda hospitals, where more than 24,000 data was collected. And the first time the validation happened on 24,000 data, where doctors' inputs, our findings, and actual patient information all were correlated. And we proved that there is some correlation to start with. And then I started my company. Now it's more commercial also. And this is the product which we launched eventually. I want to thank Dr. Valyathan. Many may know his name, Padma Vibhushan. So in one of such conferences, I was sitting in the audience, and he was talking about his different. So he is a cardio, in a way, modern doctor, but he has done tremendous work in Ayurveda. So that's why I was in the audience, and he was talking about multiple products. So when I told him about the hardware, the only thing which he told me that we as Indians lack in the product design. So he gave us a very important thing, that as a company, I should invest 1/3 of the amount in the product design and so on. So that's why Satish Gokhale was employed, and such a great product has come out. So as I explained, more than 800 centers. Every day we are opening 1 or 2 centers in India. More than 4 lakh patients now. 9 commercial and research MOUs. The primary one is IIT Kanpur, where we are working very hard on different things beyond pulse, which I will explain about. Now the product is patented. It's granted in US, Europe, Indonesia, certifications, awards, which sir actually mentioned. So we have to make sure that no question comes eventually in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it takes, so that it is very standardized, medically compliant, medically certified, so that Ayurveda actually becomes part of mainstream. Right now, it's termed as alternative or non-scientific or pseudoscience and so on. So once we collect a lot of data, annotate it, standardize it, put it in front of people with respect to a lot of papers and publications, I think it will help people. I'll go through a few results next 10-15 minutes, which we have published. A few of them I'll show. The very first paper after coming out of the CSR grant was on food, how food works as medicine. Okay, so we selected 30 students to start with, 10 of Vata category, 10 of Pitta category, and 10 of Kapha category. And, in Pune, there is something called Mastani, where you get a thick milkshake with ice cream. Then there is a ginger tea and something with respect to Harbara Chana. So food which increases Vata, food which increases Pitta, and food which increases Kapha inside your body. So we did this for multiple days for all those students. We combined that data pre-post, and you can actually see that the behavior actually changes, and it is matching with the shlokas which are there in our ancient science. For example, Madhure Bahigama. So when you eat Madhur, when you eat sweet, the nadi expands. So for Vata, it expands. Pitta, you don't see much. Kapha, it actually contracts. So you can see that for different people, same food has different effects. So how food can take care of your Vat Pitta cough with, yeah.
So, still one is not talking about getting a large amount of data and maybe make some sense of the patterns. But from the plots that you have shown of the signals that we receive, so what aspects that they come out? For example, if you see those the top, those three per person, yes, I mean there are some differences in the pulse shapes between, let us say, before and after. But how do you derive the significance of these shapes or amplitudes? If one is talking about inferring certain knowledge of it. If I see the middle person, the so-called the pulse height, it doesn't seem much different. The shape, the ripples is slightly different. And in the case of kapha, of course, the shape itself seems different and so on. But what is that you derive out of it to draw a conclusion? Or you say that no, I can't draw a conclusion with one such shape, but I need millions of them and do all this. So that's
So we started with 30. I'm going to show some slides which are based on 24,000 data. Now we are working on 10,000 specific diabetes people and so on. So things will improve. I understand this was one of our first papers, 2016. And I understand 30 is not a number. I understand this particular graph, for example, doesn't make sense, but that makes sense. This makes sense and so on. So it just makes sense. I'm not giving any conclusions based on these, graphs as such. Again, another experiment with respect to Surya Namaskara, how it actually increases the Nadi Bala, increases the internal immunity and so on. We showed during different Panchakarma treatments, during different Ayurveda treatments, how different gunas actually changes, how it actually goes down, why Panchakarma treatment is important. If we can show this to different people, it will be easier. For example, our current one of the machines is installed in Dubai, very premium wellness spa. So usually at a spa, when you go, it's a menu card, 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, this massage, this oil, that oil, and so on. So they are using this product, to find out what category of person this is, what is the Tikshanata Guna at this particular moment. Accordingly, they are giving you, this particular massage from the menu card and so on. So that is how, this is just a starting point of everything. So this is the data which I was talking about. It's, to be precise, 24,637 patients. And we collected data for almost entire year. And this data, of course, we have collected data from whole India, but this data is only Maharashtra to Delhi. So assumption is, the seasonal component will remain almost the same. So one of the properties which our data gives is with respect to Agni, which is digestive fire. There's a number which it gives. And what we did, all the people who come in January, whoever is a Vata dominant person from that particular Nadi, their Agni component. So average of those people is basically this number. Average of those people in Feb is this number and so on. So you can see that Vata graph is this, Pitta graph is that, Kapha graph is that and so on. So overall, Pitta people have higher digestive fire as compared to Kapha. And this has been written in the text. Very simple graph, very simple finding. Again, it's only statistically, so that's why it looks nice. But again, you may say that what's great in that? The greatness comes in the next figure, and the next is that.
But is, for example, the share, temporal share, namely from Jan to December, it seems to have a slightly systematic dip somewhere in the middle of the year. Is that a significant feature?
In a way, yes. In a way, yes. So even though it's a very minor dip into this, but that makes a lot of difference when it comes to this particular graph. For example, I will go back to that graph again. So for one category of people, which is Pitta Vata, again January to December, but now Prahar wise. So morning Prahar, data collected which only in the morning, only in the afternoon, only in the evening, and at night. The late nights data we don't have, so I could not produce. But now the same data gets bifurcated in this fashion for a one category purpose. So now you can see that the dip becomes higher or lower. This is not much justifiable, but you can see that the data looks completely different. This particular graph is the most interesting. Same data, but now instead of taking average on January, February, March, we did take averages with respect to Hindu calendar. So we also have 12 Prathamas, 12 Dvitiyas, 12 Tritiyas, 12 Paurnimas, and so on. So you can see that the same data now, the Shukla Paksha, that is the first half of the moon cycle, we have higher numbers, and second cycle has a lower numbers. So we are a different people in the first half cycle of the moon, and we are different people. So now you can see that the significance is much different. It's the same data, but only the averaging has been taken with respect to. So how every day is important, how every timing is different, and so on. So there is a Rutucharya, there is a Dinacharya. So Rutucharya is with respect to seasonal components. So the graph which I showed earlier was more with respect to Rutucharya.
What is the data?
Basically, you are collecting that particular graph. Okay, there is a parameter called Agni. So how do I define Agni? It's a Jathar Agni. It represents the digestive fire. So it is the energy of Manduka Gati of Pitta. That's the definition. Let me. There are multiple definitions of Agni, but simple definition. So area under the curve is energy. Pitta Gaf we know, and whenever there is a Manduka Gati, we have identified 10, 12 parameters, patterns which defines the Manduka Gati. So that particular number is basically the Agni, is the digestive fire for one person. So out of those 24,000, the average of that categories. So these are those numbers. And similarly for all, I mean, we get so many parameters, and you can see that the graphs are absolutely cyclic from January to December. Very interestingly, we were working with Unilever based on dryness, based on some other parameters. We know Unilever is a typical FMCG company. So based on this, if I know a person, I can give suggestions with respect to which soap to use. The dryness is going in some direction, which lotion to use, which shampoo to use for different category of people. So you can imagine different applications beyond medicine. How if I know a person from personalization aspect with respect to Vat Pitta Kapha, and that Vat person is going to travel in some way, and we know that a category of people, every monsoon they have some skin related issue. Every winter, some people have dryness in their hair fall happens, and so on. And very specific category of people have those issues. So if I know the category, I can actually take care of them in well before time. So this is even complex. So you can see that there is no differentiation as such. Now this is standardized data, but anyways, so we collected 700 data at one particular camp at S. Vyasa University in Bangalore, specifically on diabetes. And you can see that there was some correlation established between different people. Now, visibly there are no variations, but when we actually do the numbers, it actually shows different numbers and so on. We submitted this to Niti Aayog, and now they have given us a large, about 1 crore rupees grant to actually prove this particular result. So we are going to do 20 states, 10,000 people, clinical validation of diabetes. So right now, the pricking action, the invasive method of diabetes understanding, numbering system, we are going to convert that into a Nadi Pariksha based non-invasive method. Sorry?
Yeah.
X is basically time, and Y is actually pulse. This is just a representation. This is just a representation. The results are not shown because those are very, internal results. We don't want to publish it. We want to make millions of money based on that. So I was saying about the Niti Aayog, I already told about how the government is supporting this particular product so that eventually it gets very, very, very standardized. At the moment, it's more personalized. At the moment, it is subjective. The Ayurveda itself is an art, itself is a personalized tool, and so on. And it will be a longer journey to make it more.
I understand. I have the same question, but so the way you said is that whatever it's done by pathology test, maybe which goes through certain reagents and you get some value.
Yes.
That you get about sugar. Are you saying that your
Machine.
instrument will be able to quantify?
Yes. So what the current methodology which we are using is the pilot study has already started. Every data point is a 45 minutes data, in which from allopathy point there is a questionnaire. We do urine analysis, we do blood analysis, and allopathy defines diabetes with numbers. We know that particular methodology. From Ayurveda angle, again, there is a big questionnaire with respect to family angle, medical angle, personalized, and so on. We also take nadi, tongue, face. I'll come to those points and so on. So we take a lot of data. We create parameters. These parameters and these parameters, we are trying to correlate. How much correlation is established? In the previous, our preliminary result, which we showed, we established some correlation. Now we want to make sure that our methodology will not give number. It will just give ranges. No diabetes, pre-diabetes, and in diabetes also 3. In modern medicine, there are 5 to 6 types of diabetes, type 1, type 2, maybe there are multiple. In Ayurveda, diabetes is defined as prameha in 22 categories. So some categories of here and some categories of here, that is what we are doing at the moment, which is more commercial aspect. And so on. So eventually in 3 years, we see ourselves as a platform, data platform, lot of products. With respect to Nadi, right now the form factor is a clinical device at the doctors. We are also creating a wearable. We are also coming up with a product which can stand at your homes and so on, more like a BP machine. Of course, a lot of logic is getting established and different types of reports to different people. So in a way, we are talking about the data platform. We want to be Google, Apple, Facebook, whatever we want to call of Ayurveda, so that eventually we give a food related information, insurance related information, and so on of people, so that from the personalization aspect. So you can see that how our wearable will look like. So if you know Fitbit, iWatch, the sensors are here, they sit here. Our wearable will actually sit on this side where the Ayurveda believes that this gives more information than this particular. I have 5 more minutes. Okay. I talked about pulse. From tongue angle, we developed a tongue fee app. So we chose 2,000 of our people, and people keep taking selfies. We told them to take selfie of their tongue every day. We track them for multiple, and we can actually see the colors, texture, spots. And there are various books, various shlokas in Ayurveda, which defines based on where it's bought, you can actually correlate that to acidity, indigestion, and so on. And we have a very good results. So this work is going on at IIT Kanpur, very good results. Similarly, with respect to face, different aspects of face actually defines a personality and so on. So interestingly, there was 10-year challenge on Instagram. So as one of the engineering projects, I asked them to download 500 such projects and find out which patterns, which correlations do not change and so on. Again, with respect to Anguli Parikshan, how different and so on. So whatever is defined in our ancient science, in it as part of Ashtavida Pariksha, we are just trying to find out whether through time series analysis, image analysis, video-based analysis, can we make sense out of those. Eventually, say 5 years, 10 years down the line, in modern medicine, this is a disease that's the healthiest state. In Ayurveda also, it is defined in 7 stages. And the good Vaidyas can actually find out whether the person is diseased or not in a pre-stages. So once a great amount of data comes from the devices, from the wearables, from the home appliances, and so on, eventually we want to make sure that the system becomes more predictive, so that the cost involved to find out the disease and reducing it will be as low as possible. So that's going to be our path ahead. Currently, we are a device. Next year, we are going to be a wearable, specifically diabetes wearable, specifically wellness wearable. We are taking care of stamina, anxiety, stress, flexibility, and so on. And eventually, we want to call ourselves as a data platform, where we are already talking to Tata AIG, so that whether the insurance premium, which currently considers ECG, MRI, blah, 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 can also consider the Ayurveda way of finding the person to define the premium and so on. So we are a 25 people small team in Pune. Parag is my co-founder from IIT Bombay. We were friends there, and he comes from the MNC background with respect to embedded and so on. Tejaswini and Shruti are my core domain experts from Ayurveda, from nutrition, from research angle. And that's all. Just to conclude, we have exported yoga. Ayurveda is next. Pre-COVID in India, the industry was 4 billion. Now it is 24 billion. Australia wellness industry is 3 trillion. So you can imagine the numbers in which Ayurveda can make its contribution. So we are on a journey to prove whatever we had in the form of shlokas or the personalization aspect and so on. We want to standardize in such a way that it makes sense for all people. Just to note my email ID and phone number. If we cannot talk much here, we can talk further on this number. So with that, I will stop. Thank you so much again for inviting me to such a prestigious institute. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, quick questions, we can discuss.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Yeah. Yes.
So you of course said that you study correlations between the sort of in-course standard tests of blood, urine, and so on with the kind of things. So do you use a lot of machine learning techniques for this? What is the kind of thing?
Right. We launched the product in 17-18. Till then, the complete work was a simple rule-based system, and continuously data is coming, doctors' inputs are coming, and so on. So on our server, the data and intelligence is getting better and better. So I would say that currently, the report card which we are producing, maybe 70% of that intelligence is still rule-based, and about 20-30% is machine learning. But eventually, maybe in a couple of years, the complete machine learning-based reports make. So currently, the report card comes like this. I'll just keep it here so that you can have a look. It's a 10-page report card, 22 Ayurveda parameters, every parameter with low, medium, high range, symptoms associated with that particular parameter. It's a very detailed report card for both doctors and patients. It comes with the diet recommendation, the recipe recommendation, and so on. So some commercial aspect. So yes, from ML angle, we are working on it. We have a small team. We just raised a small round at the moment. So we'll increase the, very soon we might be operational at 2,000, 10,000 schools, 2,000 centers across the government, primary healthcare centers and so on. So once the data starts coming from those at a large scale, we can go towards ML very fast. So right now, very small.
So I'm not in medical profession. Okay. So, but in general, I think we think of diseases as lifestyle diseases and germ/microbe diseases.
Yes.
Is there do you approach both of these in this, or is it only made because most of the things you talked about were, of course, in some say lifestyle diseases?
Maybe I'm not the right person to discuss this, but we are. Currently, we call ourselves as a wellness company. We are focused more on wellness. So we are not talking about diseases as such. The first one which we have chosen is diabetes to start with. And actually, I have no answer for this. Maybe we can discuss this with my doctor Tejaswini. We can go deeper because I might not be the right person to answer your question.
Nice talk, Aniruddha. Actually, you must be knowing, and we all, the audience also know that majority of the people are very skeptical about the Ayurvedic line of treatment. Means there are hospitals and people take treatment. So, of course, you are having data to back your claims, but I would like to know what were the challenges. Means you're doing a commendable job of taking on the mighty allopathic industry. So what were the challenges? And of course, were is actually, I think, not the right word. What are the challenges you're facing, and how are you able to do this in kind of an environment?
A lot of challenges. Can I give I mean, 2-3 minutes answer? Is it
Oh, yeah,
possible?
okay.
Okay, great. A lot of challenges on various fronts. Thankfully, my dad's name is Dr. Joshi, who has faced multiple challenges while developing so many products. So I had a history at home of challenges. One of the most difficult challenge is that allopathy people don't want this. Ayurveda people also don't want this, because for last 5,000 years, this has been going on in a particular way. And now I'm telling them, use machines, use technology so that it becomes simpler for your patients and so on. The second thing is, most importantly, there is no language for example, in curriculum, Nadi Pariksha is a 2-hour course at the moment. Okay, so Nadi is actually not taught. So that's why there are really less number of Nadi experts as in Ayurveda. Now, there are different gharanas or different gurus which have different Nadi Pariksha systems. So there is a possibility that one doctor feels like this, the other feels like this. So there are different methodologies in which different Ayurveda doctors also check the pulse. So there is no one standardized method of pulse. There is no annotation. There is no standardization. So whatever we say is going to be the first time some annotations will happen, which might be right, which might be wrong. The time will tell. So that is the second challenge, that there is no, in a way, so usually computer science people, do adapt what is already there in ancient science or whatever it is, and it makes simpler. But in our case, there is nothing which is available. So the computer itself is actually creating the annotations. So that is second. Third is, of course, the finances. Typically, e-commerce company gets a lot of funds. Such a crazy concept, which has a very niche market. From finance point of view, there is no one to invest. There is no one to put money into it. Thankfully, this particular government is very pro Ayurveda. So we are getting a lot of help from them. Fourth is from research angle. I mean, there are very small number of journals which actually are progressive. So whenever we come up with some results, there are no journals to submit our papers to. When I submitted my PhD, because that was the first time a technical institute had a thesis on Ayurveda. So, the first unofficial comments was, the work is non-scientific because it is based on Ayurveda, so it might get rejected, something like that. So thankfully, at that time in CDAC, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar was also working on the similar idea. I heard that he intervened in some way. So that's why I got my PhD. So that was the first trigger point, because I was working with Vaidyaraj and I saw him solving people's problem. How can this not be science, right? But maybe today's language of science, which is more of mathematics, numbers, statistics, and so on, which we are trying to prove. Every day we have a new information, our old paper gets scrapped and so on. That's the journey we are on. So from the research angle also, there is an issue. So finance, research, actual base itself is not ready. Our customers, we are creating our customers, we are educating them. They don't know what we are selling them. You can imagine Flipkart 20 years back, when they started selling the books online. There was no concept of online book. There was experience of going to the bookstore and buying. So from that angle also, we are creating our own. But it has taken so many years, so that we are at a certain stage where now doctors are buying, colleges will get the system installed. I think the real work will start now, where a lot of data will get created at various locations. There are so many doctors now who are want to contribute from research angle. They really want to give us a lot of inputs with respect to pulse, that they felt this way, your data is saying this way, and so on. So please improve, and so on. So the next, we are looking forward to next journey. It has been difficult, but but I think every innovation has to go through this. So we are happy that we have gone through this, and every challenge has actually made us more powerful, that we have to do this. So we are more into this. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just continuing with what man said, I think most of the Ayurvedic doctors are non-communicative, right? They don't speak out more. They like to base on the experience and silently do the work on the patient. How did you get through that?
No, no, now they talk to us. Yes, there was a time where, so it's a very subjective knowledge. What they are feeling, what they have derived, what they have written, what is the medicine, what are the contents of medicine. None of them is actually, they cannot communicate, because it's a very, very personalized art, and it's not their fault. It has been like that for several years, thousands of years. Suddenly they cannot start, using a standardized rule the way many Dabur, this or that, those commercial companies are doing. So there are pros and cons of going towards standardization. There are pros and cons going towards personalization. There has to be some middle way. But I think currently the way Practo works or Facebook works, the doctors who are actually using these technologies are having more patients. That they have understood. So technology is helping their doctor business. That they have understood very well. So now insertion of device, making it digital, creating a digital space, having their own website, I think they are becoming more and more vocal now with our report card. So they sell our report card at 100 rupees, 200 rupees. They talk to the patient with respect to, so your number is low, your number is high. Of course, we teach them how to read the report card and how to talk to your patients. But now they have something in hand to actually talk to the patient. It's more evidence-based. It has some data, it has some numbers. And why I'm giving you this medicine. Next time when you come, let's see whether this number is reducing or not. Now there is something to talk about. Otherwise, the second report card is actually in English. So there is no Agni, Sama, Bala, Tikshna, Sama, and so on, right? So now the patient also understands what's going on and so on. They can actually compare the two visits. Sometimes Ayurvedic treatment takes 3 months, 6 months, sometimes, not always. So what's exactly happening in 3 months? Is it really improving or not? Many patients, lose their patience in 15 days, 21 days, because nothing is happening. But our doctors have published a lot of paper where they show that the number eventually goes down. They have put those results in their clinics and they actually show to the patients. It takes time, but it will help you, and so on. So that is how I think it will improve. The communication will also improve.
Yeah.
Right, sir.
Interesting question. Yeah, sure.
Continue means I am saying this because one of my ex-colleagues, Professor R.V. Hosur, you must be knowing because he knows Joshi ji, who was an ICT. So he is an NMR spectroscopist, Padma Shri R.V. Hosur, and he has been working on protein structural biology of proteins. And later on in the last 10 years, when he started his work on Ayurvedic formulations, especially he did NMR-based structure calculations. So when he presented the results initially in the seminars in TIFR or anywhere else, there was a lot of skepticism that time, because they said that no, you will publish, then only we'll be able to know. And then eventually means he published these results. His PhD students also worked on these formulations like Trifada and all. And they showed that the protein fibrillation, which takes place in case of Alzheimer's and all, with this Trifada treatment, it goes back to its native structure. And then he published these results, and then it was slowly accepted.
Thank you for
That's why.
sharing this. I'll read
Yeah.
more about it.
Yeah, you read about Professor Ramakrishna V. Hosur's papers on Ayurvedic formulations. Yeah.
There's a paper in Nature by Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, I think, where he has shown the correlation between Ayurvedic prakrutis and some formulation. So, how.
So yours is data analysis, and this is actual experimental data,
Yes.
which proves it.
Okay. Are there any more questions? I also don't see anything from on the online. So let us thank today's speaker by giving him a special 40 years of the So
Wow.
that is something for you to take back home and remember us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your nice class.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is very
Yeah, please
special.
join
Thank
us
you.
for tea.
Thank you.